In Origins, every choice felt important, like I was shaping the future of Thedas with every decision I made. My choices weren't just about right or wrong. They carried real consequences, often messy and complicated ones. I'll never forget deciding whether to destroy the Anvil of the Void or use its power. It wasn't just about what was best for the dwarves or the fight against the Blight. It was about what I could live with, and it made me pause and really think how my character feels about it that I was playing. In Veilguard, the choices don't feel the same. While the game still gives you decisions to make, their outcomes often feel hollow, as if no matter what I choose, things would turn out the same. I didn't feel like my decisions mattered as much. That feeling of being in control of the story, of really shaping it, just wasn't there. It felt like I was following a script instead of creating my own path. And that hurt because that sense of agency was what made Dragon Age feel so personal to me, especially Origins. Thedas in Origins was just a setting, it was alive. Every place I visited felt like it had a story to tell, and every person I met felt like they belonged to that world. From the ruins of the deep roads to the villages struggling to survive the Blight, the world wasn't just something I walked through. It was something I was part of. I loved picking up codices, talking to villagers, and hearing about their lives. It made Thedas feel like a real place, with a history I could discover. In Veilguard, the world looks stunning. Every scene is like a work of art, but it didn't feel as alive to me. It felt more like a pretty picture than a place I could truly sink into. The little details, the small stories, the sense that every corner of the world had something to say. It just wasn't there in the same way. I found myself missing the lived-in feeling of Origins, where the world felt as much a character as the people in it. What I loved about Origin was how it refused to make things simple. The choices I made didn't have easy answers. In Broken Circle Quest, I agonized over whether to side with the mages or the Templars. Saving one often meant condemning the other, and the game didn't shy away from showing the pain and loss that came with those decisions. That complexity made the world and the story feel real. Life isn't black and white, and Origins captured that beautifully. In Veilguard, that depth is harder to find. The choices feel cleaner, simpler, less messy. I rarely found myself struggling with what to do because the game didn't really challenge me in the same way. The moral grey areas that made me question myself in Origins were missing, and I felt like the game didn't trust me to handle difficult decisions anymore. It's that trust, that willingness to let me wrestle with hard choices, that made the earlier games so powerful. What I miss the most is the connection I felt to the world and the characters in Origins. I felt like I belonged in Thedas, like my story mattered. Whether I was an elven warden dealing with humans who saw me as lesser or portrayed noble fighting to reclaim my honor, the world responded to who I was. My companions too felt real. They argued with me, they challenged me, and sometimes they broke my heart. They cared about what I did, and that made me care about them. In Veilguard, that connection felt weaker. My companions don't seem as invested in me or in what's happening around them. The world feels less like a place I'm shaping and more like a stage for a story that already has been written. And while the story is so good, it doesn't feel like mine, in the same way Origins did. I don't think Veilguard is a bad game. It's beautiful, and it has moments that are generally fun and engaging, like its combat. But it doesn't feel like Dragon Age to me, not in the way Origins does. It feels like the series I love is changing into something shinier and bigger, but losing the personal, intimate magic that made me fall in love with it in the first place. And honestly, that makes me sad. I miss the feeling of being part of a story that was mine, even if it's just an illusion, but a well-made illusion of making choices that stayed with me long after I made them. I miss the way the world felt alive, full of stories, waiting to be uncovered. Without that, Veilguard is just a game, but it's not home.